2017 for you in particular and the Ironworker organization has been a very eventful year. We're about 2/3 of the way through the year. If you could recap what you've done so far and what you plan for the balance of the year, that would be very interesting.
Well, we meet per the Constitution twice a year. The Executive Council meets, they give advice. The General Executive Board, which is the Treasurer, the President, and the Secretary, tell them the work that's ongoing and upcoming. Not only the work, not the work, the jobs secured by our local unions and contractors, but the actual work that the International is doing. We give them the path and direction and what our prospective path and direction is. So the board decided to take a collective look at some of the structure that we have in the governance, and we downsized, we merged two district councils, and we consolidated to try and strengthen and build more support into what was formerly there. And that is a difficult thing. I'm a fourth generation iron worker. I'm proud of my local's number. I'm proud of the heritage in my union, and every one of them are equally proud. So it's almost as if we condemned them that what they were doing wasn't good enough. And that's not really the case. You know, our union was formed in 1896. It evolved. And you take any kind of leadership course, they tell you got to re-examine and you got to plan. You got to set a long-range plan. So some of the district councils, like in the Tennessee Valley, for example, I mean, that is the bread and butter of that council as far as employment goes. So what we did was we merged the Tennessee Valley with the Southeast District Council, and then we made the international representative solely dedicated towards a labor relations person for the TVA. And in addition, the Southern Company, which is a big employer throughout the Southeast District Council, recognizing that they really were subject matter experts in the power production business. And then the governance, we melded those folks together. And, you know, there's growing pains to that, but we thought that was a necessary change. The board recommended it, and the council supported that. And like I said, you go through the shock of having that. In the Rocky Mountain District Council, they covered all a part of 13 states. And each one individually does a great job. But collectively, they were so spread out with such a low density because of the distance. You went from the Canadian border down through New Mexico. Right. So we parsed them off into their neighboring councils to try and strengthen them and find allies within similar construction contractors and techniques and stuff. But no one likes change, you know, that's disruptive. And then what I did was I took an international rep that was left over from the North Central states, and we created an auditor inside the union to self-examine, not a paid auditor, but someone to find deficiencies within the standard operating procedures of local unions. And then we morphed the Nebraska, South Dakota local in with the North Central states. It kind of fit. It was like putting a puzzle, dismantling a puzzle and putting it back together. Mm-hmm. So net, we lost two district councils, and then we merged 13 locals and consolidated them into 5. And once again, those were not based on a reflection of the local or the leadership's inability, but some of the locals suffered quite a bit post-08 economically. Yeah. And that while they survived, they didn't have the resources, or they had a minimal amount of training, or there was minimal organizing activity. And then you kind of get into this perpetual, not a death spiral, but you're just like chasing your tail. Yeah. And so what we wanted to do was consolidate the leadership so some could operate the union and run the office portion, and turn some of those people that were chained to offices in close proximity into business agents and organizers so we can do some growth. Yeah. And it would be growth, not simply growing more members, not growing more signatory contractors, but a combination of all of the above. Mm-hmm. But if every day you're married to an office and you got to dispatch, you can't tend to the growth strategy of trying to organize the unorganized, and whether that be employers or members. Mm-hmm. And so we're getting through that. And then the biggest thing probably on our plate is helping the distressed pension plans and going to Congress, advocating for laws that allow folks to self-govern and pull themselves up by the bootstraps, or determining the best course of action. A lot of times local union leaders get hamstrung by the decisions because there's political ramifications. So that's a big initiative that we're doing, and that's part of what the auditor is doing, is taking the collective strength and or weakness of pension funds, throwing them up to the council, and then us intervening back with the locals and their leadership to try and take a better course of action. Ultimately, we want to represent workers in the best possible manner. But sometimes if there's a distressed pension plan, it really hamstrings our ability to grow in the area, sign up new contractors, and the old contractors get hamstrung too. And I can honestly tell you, we are in a growth mode right now where the entire Eastern Seaboard has a demand for workers. And so we've been able to take our organizing team, and we went to recently, there was a South Carolina open shop nuclear powerhouse, and we were able to organize members from there and bring them.
The one that closed down.
Yep. SCANA was the, I don't know the exact name, but it's in South Carolina there.
Yeah, VC Summer.
And a lot of those workers got a lot of experience, and they're knocking on our door. So we've taken in a considerable amount of members. We've taken in and resupplied a lot of rodmen on the Plant Vogel, the Union project down in Georgia. And for about a year, we were historically short on manpower, both on the welders, on the structural side, and on the reinforcing side. So we've seen some growth, but we have also seen some growth with the construction economy of the open shop. So we've stepped up our organizing activities, and people are more willing to admit that while that construction economy is growing, we're going to have to grow on par with that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not growing faster than the construction industry, you're actually losing ground.
And that's part of what the auditor's looking at, is market share as close as possible.
Right.
And we used to do key performance indicators, but we allowed each district council president to assess their local unions they're in charge of. And what you got is, while you got similar style of grading and areas of deficiencies and pockets of strength, what we failed to do is, if we looked at them through one narrative, with one person's objectivity, then we can assess who needs to improve performance. And it could be a deficiency in certified welders. It might be the inability to have rodmen, and we check their curriculum and they're not doing
Take
any
some
rod
of the
training.
subjectivity out of it.
Yeah. And then it gives us a distant look, and then we can work to enable and empower the locals instead of giving them oh crap. We can give them an attaboy or the path or direction going forward.
Yeah.